Hi, guys. So today at school is Wacky Wednesday for my daughter. So I'm going to be a little wacky with my hair and maybe even in my personality too. We'll see. All right. So I want to find the share button. I had the screen minimized. There we go. Welcome to Dog Skills, the human end of dog training. It's live every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And today we're going to talk about what is clicker training and how to train your dog the positive way. And I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of different videos, and I'm going to do it through YouTube today. And we're going to start off with this fun little video of my daughter years ago. And I think it really demonstrates on how learning can be so much fun and exploring can be so much fun. And that's what we want for our dogs. What did you do? Are you washing your binky in the washer? You are so smart. I thought that was a good video to show because, you know, it's really showing how we can, you know, take a situation and make it be a lot of fun and allow us to have that connection and that teamwork. And that's what true dog training is about, right? I could be sitting there like freaking out that the binky's gonna get germs on it. And yeah, you're right. The binky probably did. And, you know, that can be addressed if we want to address it, but it can be addressed in a way, you know, that's super positive and connected instead of controlling and domineering. So clicker training really allows us to connect with our dogs in a fun and super playful manner. And it's so easy for our kids to do it as well. Like, you know, when we think of all this controlling type of energy with dog training, it can be really difficult for our children to then do these things like popping on the leash hard, yelling at our dogs, kneeing them when they jump on us, grabbing their tongue, or popping them in the nose when they bite us. Those methods are out there. I don't condone them, but I'm not going to say I've never used them. I've had my time in life where I used a lot of those methods when I was a kid. So I hope you guys are laughing about my hair because every time I look at it, I just think it's so funny. So I really want the entire family to be involved. So check out this video. I think this one is so fun because here is a kid. It's actually a past client of mine training his dog, and he's doing it with play. So he's intermixing training with play. Do commands while he is playing with his dog. And notice he's using the clicker. So he clicked when the dog sat. Gave a treat for that.
No. Sit. Now play.
There's the clicker there hanging on his wrist. So when we play with our dogs, they get in a very reactive state. So by asking them to do commands during play, you're actually decreasing their arousal and getting them to think about what they're doing. It's really important to do this while you're playing tug with your dog as well. So you are going to notice he's doing tug for a decent amount of time, but he is going to ask the dog to sit, and notice how he rewards that behavior to decrease their arousal level.
Sit.
So I want to add something in here. So when we get really good at clicker training, we can mark behavior before we get the treat. And that's the point, is we can mark this behavior and then we have time to go get the treat. So let's go back to when Maya sat. So at this point, he could click. His treats aren't on him. He's got to walk to get the treat. So now he's marked the behavior. The dog knows the sitting is getting rewarded and he has time to go get the treat. He does kind of do that. He just clicks a little bit later. So there's the click, right? And then he still gives himself time to get that treat. But he could have a larger time gap between, I know that puppy. So a fun little video with getting kids involved and realizing that this type of method does allow the kids to be involved with dog training. Oh, we have a viewer. So today is Wacky Wednesday for my daughter at school. So initially this morning, it was like this. It's kind of fallen over a little bit, but that's why my hair's that way. I just want to be fun. And since today is about making dog training to be positive, right? And connecting, this is a way for me to connect with my kid, have a good time, and also to connect with the fun energy within ourselves. And that does help us be a better dog trainer when we can do those things, explore those different ways that we can connect with us. I'd love to know why are you here today? What do you want to learn? And what do you already know about clicker training? So those of you that are watching the replay, I definitely want to encourage you to share this video with others, comment below, watch the replay. We want to spiral this out into the public, get it out there, let people know that they can do dog training in a positive way. And also like in a way that doesn't feel like that, you know, they have to give something back. I mean, this is a totally awesome way for people to learn in an easeful setting because they don't have to give money. They could just be here, watch it on the screen and learn. So why are you here today? And what do you want to learn about clicker training? Comment below so I can learn. And the more that you guys comment, the more I can help you. You don't have to comment, but if you do, that does allow me to be able to interact with you, to help you more, and to give you more one-on-one help. Okay, so what are some of the benefits of clicker training? I'm going to go over a few of these in a video that I'm going to share with you of me. And we're going to watch a lot of videos today about clicker training, how it works, when to use it, what are some of the benefits of it, so that you can get a good feel about clicker training. So by the way, I'm at the Portage County Dog Warden here. The dog is on the leash because I don't want to lose the dog. You do not have to have your dog be on the leash when you're training them if you're just in the house. I had so many people ask me that. Do I need to have the dog on the leash? Absolutely, if you're going to lose your dog, right? But if you're in the house, the doors are closed, you're not worried about losing your dog, having your dog off leash when you're training is just great. Clicker training actually speeds up the learning process and helps dogs learn very quickly. This is a clicker right here. What you do is you ask your dog to do a behavior sit, and then you click when the dog does the behavior that you want them to do. Target. Good job. And so target is getting the dog to touch their muzzle to the hand. So notice when he touched his muzzle to the hand, what did I do? Who caught that? Comment. I want to hear it. What was the dog doing? What did I do when the dog touched the hand? What did you hear me do? Let's see if anyone comments on that, because I love asking questions because it helps me also know if I communicated the point of understanding, because I do want to help you. So if you're watching the replay, let me know what happened when the dog touched the hand. Okay, and I show it to you again. Target. I clicked. Did you get it right? Did you see that I clicked there? So I'm clicking during that behavior that I want the dog to do more or less of. Comment below. Is that a behavior that I want the dog to do more or less when I click? And definitely, if you're watching the replay, the more comments the more you comment, the more I can interact with you and the more I can help you out. And because we're rewarding this behavior, it's going to happen more often. The click actually serves as a time gap between the behavior and the treat.
So you can be a little bit slow at giving the treat as long as you're fast at the click during the behavior that you like and you consistently repeat this process. Your dog will actually learn faster if you do clicker training than if you just use treats. Brody, watch. Good job.
I click during the watch. So remember in that previous video with the boy, I mentioned he could click for the sit and then walk to get the treat. Very nice reason to do clicker training. I don't have to have the food on me. I can reward the behavior and then go get the treat. Wonderful. Wow. You know, because when we are doing reward-based training or positive reinforcement training, you know, a lot of times our dogs are motivated by food. And to have food on us all the time when we're initially training them can be cumbersome. And we'll go over some of the myths here too. One of the myths is, well, I'm going to make my dog to be treat dependent, or I always have to have the clicker on me. That is absolutely not true. Eventually, when the behavior is learned, you can stop using the clicker. And at that point, you can sometimes reward the dog with food for behaviors and sometimes not. So then you're on a variable ratio or random reward type of schedule of rewards, which actually causes the behavior to be more solidified. But you can only get to that point once your dog has learned the command and really strongly knows it. They're doing the behavior about 70 to 80% of the time upon request. At that point, you can stop using the clicker and you can go on that random reward type of schedule with food.
Target. Very nice.
So really pay attention to what the dog is doing when I click.
Brody, sit. So again, I can click and then I can have a little bit of time before I get the treat out. The dog's gonna still associate the sit with the actual reward, which is really cool. Once your dog really has learned something and they're responding really well, then you can stop using the clicker and just ask for the commands. Target. Good job, target. Sit. And at that time, you don't have to give a treat every time your dog does it. You can sometimes, and you can choose to not other times, and they're gonna remember and retain the information just great. So we're really looking.
So I love that I talk about that in this video because Verdi, I actually worked with for quite a long time at the shelter. So he was at the point with a lot of behaviors, he could be on a random reward schedule. So I can demonstrate that for you really well here. So what were some of the behaviors that you saw the dog do when I clicked? Would love for you to comment and let me know what you saw, because that'll help me make sure that I'm communicating to the point of understanding. So I'm going to kind of go over some, well, you know what, before I do this, I think I'm going to talk about some more of the benefits of doing clicker training, because a lot of people are like really into it. And then some people are just like really skeptical and they're like, why do I want to get a clicker? You know, and some of you might be really skeptical right now. Why is showing us like that? Remember, it's Wacky Wednesday. Okay. So if you like someone who's a little wacky, I'm your dude. If you want someone who's going to be serious all the time, probably not me. Okay. So some of the benefits of clicker training are, it sounds the same. So let's say you have, you know, like most people do. Well, maybe not most people, but a lot of people have families, right? So it's not just one person training the dog, right? So I'm going to get my clicker over here. So if I click this, it sounds the same. If my daughter clicks it, it sounds the same. If my parents click it, it sounds the same. If I was in a relationship, which I'm not, and then my spouse was clicking it, it would sound the same. So for you guys, anyone that's in the household, anybody who clicks that is going to sound the same. If you use a verbal marker, like you'll read a lot of people saying, well, you can use yes as a marker. Absolutely. Please use it if that resonates with you better. I just am wanting to kind of, you know, spend a little bit of time on the benefits of clicker training. Now, it's not going to be beneficial for everybody. But for those of you that like these benefits and can use them in a positive way to increase your dog's learning, do it. So if I say the word yes, and then my daughter says the word yes, she's a lot younger than me, so she's got a higher voice, right? And then if I had a spouse and he said yes, yes, it'd be a lot deeper. So then the dog's got to generalize that marker with a whole bunch of different tonalities instead of just this. Oh, wow, gee. Because the whole idea is that they learn that this sound means they're going to get food. So the first place that you start off with this clicker loading, so you would click and then give your dog a treat, and click and give your dog a treat. And you want to click and give your dog a treat. You want to do that at a variety of different times a day, a variety of different locations in your house. If your dog can eat outside, some dogs are just too stressed when they're younger to eat outside, or, you know, we need to work on that. But if they're willing to eat outside, you can click and then give them a treat. There. When you're first doing the clicker loading, you want to make sure that the click's immediately followed by the food. Okay, so you don't want to have click and then have all this time going on, and then you got to walk all the way to your dog and give them the treat. That's later on. When we do the clicker loading, we want a really fast click and treat, so less than a second in between that click and that treat. You can use your dog's kibble instead of going to the store and buying treats. Feel free to do that. It can save you a lot of money, and if your dog is willing to eat the kibble and that's motivating to them, do that. So again, one of the benefits of using clicker training is it sounds the same no matter who uses it. Another benefit is it reaches a certain part of your brain. So because it sounds the same, it snaps into the amygdala part of the brain. When we use a verbal word, it actually doesn't go to that part of the brain. So when you use a verbal word, the dog's got to think, I heard this word, I know food is coming. With the click, the dog's like, I hear this noise, food is coming, and it's involuntary. They don't have to cognitively think that, but they actually do have to cognitively think that when you use a verbal marker. So that's why there's a lot of clicker followers for that reason. You can mark behavior quickly. So you'll see that today where I'll show you some things that happen really fast, and we can get the click in there very fast to mark a behavior that lasts a second or less. So that we can get the dog to do it more often. By the time we get the treat out, the dog's already doing something different. We miss that reward time. The marker gives you time to get the treat, like we talked about. We can mark behavior at a distance. So if we call our dog to come, or we want our dog to stay away from us, and they're doing behavior that's far away from us, by the time we get over there to give them the reward, the treat, they're doing something different. But with the clicker, we can mark that, and they can come to us to get the treat, or we can go to them to give it to them. And it speeds up the learning process. If it resonates with you and you like it, right? If it doesn't, then it's not going to speed up the learning process. So I'll give you an example of that in a minute. Now, I have a wonderful client. I absolutely love her. So this isn't anything about judgment. It's just about observation. She would be super happy when she was frustrated and the dog wasn't listening. She would click when the dog was doing things she didn't like to try to get the dog to respond. And I pointed that out to her, and she just still kept doing it. It was just almost like an involuntary response for her, I think, when she was frustrated. So for her, I was like, let's just stop using the clicker. It's just not working for you. Boom, out of the picture, right? Totally fine. So everything that you've learned today, you can do it without a clicker, okay? You just would need to give the treat during the actual behavior. So my question to you is, as you're watching this, what are some benefits that I talked about that are really drawn to you? What are some of the benefits that I mentioned that you're just like, ooh, I'm really excited about that, and it really pulls me to want to do clicker training? Please comment below. I'm excited to read the comments and hear what's really drawing you to it from what you learned today. And we are going to watch a video of a kid actually again, so we can see how easy it is when we use positive reinforcement and getting the kids involved doing training. And she is not using the clicker. So again, we can train without the clicker, okay? So I want you to see that, but I also want you to see how now, because she's not using the clicker, she has to give the treat during the behavior, and she's working on sit and down. So she has to give the treat during the down, and she has to give the treat during the sit for the dog to realize that he's getting rewarded for the sit or the down. You have a puppy that struggles listening to basic commands. If you do, we can help. So we're working on the sit and the down here with Lainey.
Sit.
Good job. I'll help you with the clicking there, Kate. Okay, so my bad. I'm doing the clicking in the background. So we'll change the question to notice what the dog is doing when I'm clicking. Good job. Oh, thank you, Bryn. Bryn's gonna chime in and do the clicking over there.
Down.
Good job, kids.
Sit.
Nice going. So the next step we're gonna do is you're gonna do it without the food in your hand. So, you know, the cool thing too, like when you have families, like sometimes it's really hard for the kids to click and juggle everything, and even for adults, to be honest. You can always have someone else help you out in the beginning until you get it. Once you get it, it speeds up the learning process. So now you're gonna watch how we are gonna stop using the lures. So she's not gonna have the food in the hand anymore, but we're gonna click and still give the food. So you can see how there's gonna be a little bit of possibly a time gap between clicking and getting the food out. Now she has the food right there. If you didn't, then you would walk to get it, and you could have that delay between the behavior and the reward, which is a huge benefit with the clicker train. So you're gonna take the food out of your hand, and you're gonna do the same hand movements. And Bryn, you're still gonna click. Okay, so there's your click.
Sit.
Good, and then you still wanna get the treat out. So you're gonna get the treat out. So every time we click, we still wanna give the treat.
All right.
Okay, eventually we stop clicking and then we go. Now notice this, we click during the sit, but she's rewarding the dog during the down. So because we click during the sit, the dog's probably gonna associate the reward with sitting versus downing. Do a random reward schedule where sometimes they get food for the behavior and sometimes they don't, and then we stop using the clicker, okay? So no food in the hand, okay? And then you're gonna guide her up in the sit with that same movement, and then when Bryn clicks, you're gonna give the treat, okay? Nice job. So now good job, Kate. And by the time she's getting the food out, the dog is standing. It's not sitting anymore. But we click during the sit, so the dog associates sitting with the reward versus standing. Great. Pretty cool, huh? It's really neat. Now here's another example with me. So I'm getting this dog into the down, and you're gonna notice, what is the dog doing when I click?
Good job. And notice I just waited.
So what is the dog doing when I click there? Is he doing what I want? What I don't want? So I'm clicking during that down, right? Okay. So now I'm going to ask the dog to sit. So notice, what is the dog doing when I click now?
He's smart. He knows what he's supposed to do, I think.
He's
It
very
seems
smart.
like somebody's working.
So did I click during the sit? Yes or no? What are you seeing? I'm excited to see what your comments are. So yes, I did click during the sit, and now you're gonna see that I'm gonna ask the dog to down.
Work with him, don't you think?
I
I'm gonna
do.
click during that down.
Sit. Good job, Coolio. Yeah,
And then I'm gonna get the dog back up in the sit again, and I'm gonna click during that sit.
And then you can get them back up. Oh, you popped up. Sit. So if you want to get them to do the.
So that time I didn't reward during the sit because the sit got easy for him. So I started being like, okay, I'm not gonna reward the sit every time, but I did click during that down. So the whole idea is, again, you're clicking with the behavior that you want your dog to do more of, and when you're training something new, that clicker will help speed up that learning process. Now, a huge myth that a lot of people have is they think they always have to have the clicker on me when they're training. That's not true. I can still train. I would just need to give the treat during the behavior that I like. So I need to make sure that I don't do what the kids were doing in the previous video. Like the treat was happening during the stand, right? And the command was sit. But that was okay because they clicked during the sit. But if I wasn't using the clicker, then, and I gave the treat during the stand, and I wanted to reward the sit, what is the dog going to associate the treat with, the sit or the stand? And answer that in the comments. Let's see if you got it. They're going to associate it with the stand, right? Does that make sense? Because the treat happened during the stand, not the sit. So if you're not using the clicker, you got to be really conscious with when you're giving your dog those treats. It's got to be during the behavior that you like. And again, we talked about that the dog is not going to get dependent on the clicker. You can fade it out. Absolutely, 100% you can. Okay, so on this one, I'm training the dog to sit. Okay, so again, notice how I'm clicking during the behavior that I want the dog to do more of.
Up and back. And then reinforce as soon as they're in the sit. Up and back.
Now I have that treat in my hand, and as soon as I'm clicking, I am giving that treat. So after you do the clicker loading, I recommend you do the clicker loading for about a week. Then you can start using the clicker with behaviors. You can do them both simultaneously if you want. If you want to do clicker loading the same week and start training your dog and using the clicker while you're training them, most dogs will do just fine. But that clicker loading time does get the dog to understand that the click means food. And it does help, because if this is the first time the dog has heard the clicker, they have to learn two things: how to sit and know that the click means food, right? So it can be helpful to just spend time on just the clicker loading for at least a week to really help the dog integrate, oh yeah, click means food. So notice again, the click is happening when that dog sits. So I'm getting him to sit more often.
Command, sit.
So initially I'm not saying the word because I want the dog to just start sitting more often and having it be predictable. Then I start saying the command right before they do the behavior, so they learn the meaning of sit. So you can start seeing that I say sit, and then I click during the sit and give the treat.
Sit. And now you have a dog that...
So there you go. So there's another example. Now this one is a big one, how to chain drop. So, you know, again, we're focusing on the, clicker training here, but you're going to understand some of the processes if this isn't completely green for you, on how to integrate clicker training with training basic commands. So if we want our dog to drop something, when do you think we would click? Would we click when the dog has the item in the mouth, or would we click when the dog drops the item? Who knows the answer to that? I would love for you to comment below as you're staring at my wacky here. And I'm excited to see what those are in the replay. So some misperceptions that I see a lot of people do with clicker training is they use the clicker as a command. So they click and the dog runs to them because they know the click means food. So now they use the clicker to mean come. Now you could do that, but that's not clicker training. You just train to come, and the clicker is the command to come. So you click, the dog runs to you, you reward that, and that's what you repeatedly do. Then you just train your dog to come, right? If you're using it as a marker, then if you click to get your dog to come to you, then whatever they were doing back there is what you rewarded it for. So if he was playing with the dog or peeing on the tree or chewing on something he wasn't supposed to, fighting somebody, whatever, and you clicked during that, and they broke away to come to you for the food, you actually rewarded that behavior. So you don't, if you're doing true clicker training, you don't want to click to just get your dog to come, because you're rewarding the behavior that they were doing when you clicked, running away from you, running down the sidewalk. And then that's what they're going to do more often, because whatever you reward or click is going to happen at a higher frequency. And you also want to make sure that you're not using it to get your dog's attention too. It's like I see a lot of people, and that's kind of the same thing. Like their dog's not paying attention, they click, the dog looks back up at them. Yeah, they're going to do that because they know that food's coming, but then whatever they were doing in that moment, they're actually getting rewarded for. Okay, so watch here, we're going to get the answer to that question of when do we click when we're training drop, when the item's in the mouth or when the dog spits out the item.
Train it, use something that, you know, is theirs and that they can have them do something good like sit first, give it to them, and then you just want to think about doing a trade-off. Rudy, drop. Okay.
So was the item in the mouth when I clicked, or did the dog spit it out? I wonder what you wrote before. So at this point, hopefully you could see that I clicked when the dog spit out the item, right? If I click when the item's in the mouth, they might spit it out because the food is coming, but then I just rewarded them for having the item in the mouth. Make sense?
So he has a little mouse toy.
So I'll have you watch it again.
Almost mutilated.
So that you can kind of get the idea again, okay? So here we go. Notice that I click when the dog spits out the item.
Drop.
Yay! And that time it almost looked like I clicked while I was giving the food. It was literally like a millisecond before I handed the food. But it was after he spit out the item, right? So by repeatedly doing this over and over again, he's going to realize the click happens when the item's not in my mouth. That means I'm supposed to spit out the item and I get rewarded for that. So here's a good example of how it can progress. So this client, this actually is a client that I worked with through all live personalized online dog training, and he submitted a homework video to me. He did a lot of work on drop, and this was how it ended up progressing. So the owner actually is not using the clicker, and the owner is actually not even giving a treat when the dog drops it in this section of the video. So you can see that eventually when you're doing clicker training, you do stop using the clicker and you can stop rewarding the behavior with food every time. There's the Frisbee.
Millie, drop. Good girl. Good girl.
So the reward was petting and praise, but you could also just not have any reward at all. If you're on a random reward schedule, the dog's already starting to learn it. So now I'm gonna throw the Frisbee again. And repeat. So that's kind of fun to see how it can progress, right? So now we're back. I love showing these videos with the kids because I, again, want to reinforce how much easier it is to involve the entire family when you use positive reinforcement dog training, and how easy it is to get the kids to be involved. Plus, you're teaching your kids good values. Do you want to teach your kid that hitting is a good idea? Maybe if it's a defense response because someone's hurting you intentionally, but do we actually want to teach the kid that every time they're hurt that they hit somebody? So like if, let's say the dog's biting you and you bop them on the nose, you're instilling that belief that if I feel hurt, I should just react out. Is that really what you want to teach your kids? I think most of the time this day and age, we're only wanting to teach our kids to do those things when it's absolutely necessary in self-defense. So these methods are teaching, instilling good things and instilling them patience, compassion, kindness, understanding, relatability, teamwork, all great qualities to learn as a child, and then, instill those in your adult life. So here we're working on training Leave It, and I want you to notice that this behavior happens relatively quickly. So here's one example of behavior that happens kind of fast. And by the time they get the treat out, the dog might be going back after the food, because the whole idea is that we want the dog to back away from the item that's going to be in the open hand, to leave that item, to not move towards it, to back away, turn their head, lie down, do something that's getting the dog to move away from the item in the hand. So that could happen at a relatively short time, because then within a second or two, the dog can go back and try to get the item. So if we just go and reward the behavior without the clicker, we might be rewarding the dog for going back towards the item again. So notice how easy it is to mark the dog from moving away from this item when this girl is using the clicker. Training, and we're in Newberry. We're working on Leave It here with Lainey. Good, and Bren there is working on it with an open hand. So there's her click there, she turned her head away. So when the treat is visible in front of Lainey, Bren is saying leave it, and then she's clicking and treating that. So we're teaching Lainey to leave a visual object that she wants that's right in front of her face. Good job, Bren. So you got that. Yep, you have awesome timing there. Very nice. Good. So any of you that think that your kids can't participate in dog training, it's totally not true. They're pros at it. Do you want to try it again, Kate? Okay. So can you see how the behavior is happening very quickly and how this girl can get the click in there? Yes or no? Please let me know. I'm excited to hear if you can see that, because that allows me to make sure that I've communicated clearly to you guys, because I want you to understand what I'm talking about here. Let's watch the next girl. So so Kate's gonna go ahead and so at this point right there with Lainey, she doesn't have the clicker. So she's got to give the treat when the dog looks away, or someone else could click in there when the dog looks away and reward to help out. And a lot of times when I work with kids, we do that teamwork. Another person clicks while the other person's doing the training. We might even have another person reward the dog as well. So you have 3 people training a dog, one command, and all working together as a family. And it can be a family fun night, you know, game night, connection night. Get everyone involved. Good. Nice job. And then as soon as she looks away, we'll click. Oh. And then you can give her so the click timing was a little off there. And that goes to play again. Like I've talked about this in many, many videos. I really haven't mentioned it today. You're not going to click at the right time all the time. You're human. You're not going to be perfect. I'm not going to show up on this video perfect all the time. Today is Wacky Wednesday. Okay. I want my hair to be crazy. Right. And that's okay. I don't need to be on here stellar perfect with my makeup on and everything to actually help people. You don't have to communicate to your dog perfectly all the time for them to learn. It's so important to know. Okay. So I feel like the click, you know, happened not when the dog really looked away there. Now, if we repeatedly do that, of course the dog's gonna think that it has to do with staring at the food instead of moving away. But if the probability is high that the dog gets the treat when they look away and the click when they look away, or sorry, the click when they look away and then the treat happening after that, they'll start realizing that it's look away. We'll try again. Do you want to click for her, Bryn? Yeah, sure. Okay, great. Okay, so I think Kate needs a little bit more treats. Good job. So good. That happened relatively fast, that look away. Could you see that? And we got that click in there. So neat. So good, good, good. So same, this one also, the owner's training leave it. At this point, he's dropping an item on the ground. Now, your dog may immediately try to go after that item. So definitely, you know, last week we talked about how to train leave it. So you could watch that video to learn how to do that step by step. What I want you to learn on the clicker training today is that he clicks when the dog doesn't go after the juice box. So the dog may have a split second where he doesn't go after it and then he goes after it. If you get the click in there for that split second that they did not go after it and then reward that, you're gonna teach the dog to leave something, okay?
Leave it. Girl.
Now, obviously, this particular video is more advanced. This isn't a dog that's just learning leave it for the first time.
Leave it.
So notice, what is the dog doing when the owner's clicking? Is he going after the item or is he leaving the item?
Good girl. Good girl.
works, guys. So anybody who thinks that clicker training is a joke, it's not. When I was a kid, I did all traditional reinforcement dog training, or sorry, traditional dog training, you know, choke collars, prong collars, all that stuff. My 4-H advisor was a great person. I loved her. She did tell me I was ruining my dog when I used clicker training. Not because she's a bad person, she just didn't understand it. It was so new back then. I kept using it anyway because I knew it worked, and I had read books on it and gone to enough seminars. I started doing that when I was in middle school. So if you work with me, you're not working with some, you know, unadvanced person here. I'm 44 now, so we've been doing this for years. I know what I'm doing. And another cool little side note is this is a client I worked with all online, and they submitted this homework video to me. Okay, I do in person. So those girls were ones that I worked with in person. I do both. So it can help you no matter where you live, which is really cool. And I think it is helpful to kind of see this stuff so that you realize the different ways I can help you out. Okay, so, fun. I love this next video. So I have a question for you on this next video. And the question is, how easy do you think it would be to train this particular dog to walk loosely on the leash if you did not do clicker training? Do you think it would be easy, yes, or harder? Let's say you're going to write easy or hard. Do you think it would be easier to train the dog with loose leash walking with the clicker? Or do you think it would be harder? So write easy or harder in the comments while you're watching this. So this is a dog that really wants to pull on the leash, okay? Notice how fast the owner gets the clicks in here.
And Charlie's getting a lot of clicks and treats for walking loosely on the leash. And Elizabeth, you're doing really good with your timing there.
So hopefully you can hear the clicker. If not, put on a headset or get your volume turned up and really listen.
Clicking every 1 to 2 seconds, saying the command, and so now he's really understanding what you want him to do, which is awesome. Very nice. So if you would like to tell me about your dog,
So click every time she's reaching in that treat bag, or right before she's reaching in that treat bag, she's clicking. I just paused it a little bit because I didn't want you to hear all that commentary. I just thought listening to me talk could be annoying, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'll let you do it because you can still hear that click.
love to hear about your dog. You can contact me at 801-463-1668 or go to Ohio, the number 4, leggedscholars.com.
So, and then just so you guys realize, like I was in Utah for 14 years. We do have a Utah website, or leggedscholars.com. You can also call me at another number, 440-548-7312. Just want to share that for those of you who know different ways to get a hold of me, but they're all ways that you can get a hold of me. Anyway, so we're talking about here with the click, right? This dog wants to pull on the leash a lot, and we're seeing a lot of clicks and treats. So if we do a lot of clicks and treats for a loose leash, aren't we decreasing the chances this dog is going to pull? And don't you think that would speed up the learning process? Yeah, it will. So if I didn't use the clicker, it might take a lot longer to train this dog to walk loosely on the leash because they're going to be on a pull, and by the time I get the food out, they're pulling. So I go to reach my hand in the treat bag and they're pulling. I can click before I even put my hand in that treat bag when that leash is loose. So notice how she does that. I think she does. I'm going to have to rewatch it to make sure. But you can click before your hand goes in that treat bag for a loose leash to really get that stellar
A lot, and it's causing a lot of frustration for you. If that's the case, then getting your dog to walk loosely on the leash can bring a lot more peace in your life. And we're here with Elizabeth.
But she's not necessarily clicking every time before she gets her hand in her treat bag. But you could do that. Especially if your dog's going to pull by the time you get your hand in the treat bag. Then get that click in there before they start pulling and before you even get your hand in that treat bag. Do that high treat frequency. Now, again, this isn't a how-to video on how to train these commands. This is about clicker training. So if you're stressed out about leash walking, you can go to my website and there is a leash walking webinar. Of course, you know, again, I can work with you personally for just $39. And it's a whole step-by-step process on training leash walking. Okay, so we're gonna look at how to use using clicker training with getting our dog to settle or not jump. So notice on this one, the owner is clicking and treating while the dog is doing what? So pay attention to what she's rewarding this dog to do. Someone's gonna come to the door and enter the house. Okay. What is she clicking and treating? What behavior is the dog doing that she is rewarding? So what's your answer? Comment below.
Good girl. Sit. Okay. Okay. Good girl.
So in this case, we're clicking and treating the sit. Can you see that? This dog used to jump on people that came to the house. And I kid you not, this is the first time the owner applied this technique and the dog immediately stopped jumping. Now, that's not gonna be every dog, of course not. But rewarding behavior that we like can change things relatively fast. And when we focus on the stuff that we don't like and just reprimand, the dog doesn't know what to do instead. So we're literally teaching the dog what we want them to do instead. And that's the really cool thing about clicker training is this is what we want you to do. And they're going to do it more often because they're getting rewarded for it. So that high treat frequency, again, she used. Why? Well, the dog wants to run to the door. So if we're rewarding the dog at a high frequency for staying in the sit, they're going to be less likely to pop up from the sit and run to the door. So watch that high frequency of treating.
Good girl.
She's clicking before she can even feed the dog again. The dog barely even has time to think about getting out of the sit. Do we do it this way forever? Of course not. Like I said, we are not making the dog treat dependent or clicker dependent. We can fade those things out. Absolutely. But we can communicate to them a lot better and effectively when we can reward at this rate. And you can't reward at that rate without using clicker. You just can't. You can't get the food out in time, right? Because if she took the clicker out, right? If we didn't do any of that clicking, the dog is only getting rewarded when she gives that food. So notice how many seconds we have in between that treat. I think it's probably about one or maybe even half. 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002, 1001, 1002. So we have about 2 seconds. So that's enough time for that dog to think about popping up from that sit. But when we add the clicker in there, the dog's either eating or hearing that click within at least every maybe 1 second. Let's turn the volume back on and let's see. 1001, 1001, 1001. There isn't even a second. Because by the time I'm saying 1001, the dog's either eating or the clicker's happening again. So there's about a half a second. So instead of there being 2 seconds, we now are down to a half a second. Holy guacamole, isn't that cool? So in a half a second, it's a lot harder for the dog to think about breaking that sit than if we have that 2 second time gap. So that's a great benefit to see there with the clicker training. So, I love this one because this is another example of quickly marking a behavior, okay? And this dog wants to jump. So notice how fast the owner gets to click in there when the dog is not jumping. And I want you to comment what the dog is doing when the owner clicks. What do you see the dog do when this owner is clicking? So somebody comes to the door, the dog is so excited. Owner comes along very calm, not saying no, not telling the dog to not do these things. When does she click? What is the dog doing when she clicks? She didn't even ask the dog to sit. She clicked during the sit. Could you see that? Yes or no? Comment below. So Wow. I mean, that was a very short time. Let's watch it in real time again so you can see what a short time or how fast his behavior was and how easier it was for the owner to click during that sit than to have to reach and get the treat out and give the dog the treat during the sit. Because by that time, the dog would have been jumping again. Tell her. Oh, again, she got it. Got that timing for that sit again with that click. And again.
Keep clicking. Not now.
So there's a few times she clicked when the dog was jumping. Okay, well, we're not perfect, right? Her partner's trying to help her be accountable. That's okay. But the dog is still going to learn. Okay, because the probability of doing the correct behavior is happening. That probability is higher with clicking the correct behavior. I haven't watched this video in a while. Let's see what happens. Oh, here we go. So we got.
Here you die. Here you die.
We got this gas timer without jumping. Here they are able to start opening the door, and they're clicking that behavior that they like. So I don't want you to. I'm not trying to. I don't want to just show this off. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to teach you how to use this. So notice that the owner is clicking when this dog is doing the behavior that they like, which is sitting. Okay.
We've been working on this with the gate open. Free.
Good girl.
So again, at this time, the dog didn't even jump on the owner. So if you train a good sit before they even interact with the owner, like we did in this video and the previous one, you can prevent some jumping sometimes for some dogs. I remember this dog was charging out the door of the room and then ended with this. Just by rewarding with a click for the correct behavior. That's how powerful clicker training is. Really take that in. And again, this is a client I worked with. This is actually one I did through all online as well. Okay, so now we want to look at also how we can reward behavior at a distance. Okay, so there's a little dog up here in the left-hand side of the screen. Okay, that's my little dog. So I can click when the dog arrives at me for a come, because this is for come training. But I can also click when the dog is doing something that I like when they're away from me. So I want you to notice I actually click before the dog arrives at me, which then allows the dog to know that any portion of that come is getting rewarded. And any portion of that come I could click to say, good job, as the dog is running to me. I can't do that with just handing a treat, because I would have to run towards my dog to then give him a treat, and they would probably just run away from me. So with the click, I can actually reward behaviors that are happening at a distance. And I could do this with a stay as well, but in this example, it's with the come. So your job is to notice the click and comment below when you hear the click. Where is the dog in relation to landmarks, or in relation to where I'm standing when you hear the click? How many feet away is the dog from me when you hear that click?
Yay! Good boy, Six. Come on. Good boy.
Did you hear it? Dog was about here. Now I could have clicked at any portion of that. I could have clicked when the dog, so we can't really see him that well there. When he was here, any of this, I can click. Right, but I clicked here, right? So about there, and then he's getting the reward, right?
I got some chicken. Chicken for you. Coming so good.
So again, this is showing you another benefit of that clicker training. You can mark behavior that is happening that's away from you. And then the dog then thinks about the food and they're more likely to follow through with completion of that behavior. So very powerful, so very powerful. Absolutely amazing. Okay. Well, I really enjoyed this call with you. So I have a question for you. What have you learned that will help you to train positively or to train in a more positive fashion? I would love for you to comment below. I'm excited to read the comments for those of you that are watching the replay. So I can see like what you've learned and what you're going to apply. It's also going to help this stuff reach your long-term memory if you write it down, because then your brain is thinking about, okay, what did I learn? I'm searching for what I've learned. So therefore, since I'm thinking about that, that's going to allow me to do it more often because my brain is focused on those changes that I can do. I also would like to ask you, what topics would you like to see in a Facebook Live? I love doing these and I would love to hear what topics you would like to see. I'm going to do these, and if I know the topics that you want to see, I can do those topics for you. So definitely do not hesitate. Just immediately write down any topics that you would like to see in a Facebook Live. Again, watch the replay, comment below, and share this video with others. So I do want to say you might be the perfect fit to work privately with Four-Legged Scholars, especially if you liked this Facebook Live, because again, I am a positive reinforcement dog trainer. So do you want to feel empowered because you can get your dog to listen to you? I really specialize in coaching you to train your dog. Do you want to use positive training methods? And do you want personalized help that is tailored to you and your dog's needs? Every single client I work with, I deal with differently. I am very personal. One of the girls that mentored under me, she told me, she said, Joanna, I don't know how you do it. Every single house I go to with you, you interact with each client differently. I was like, okay, I think that's a gift of mine as the years have gone by, as I have the sense of knowing of what my clients need. And I actually transform my shape to those needs to help my clients be successful. So thank you for attending today. Mention this workshop and you can redeem 50% off a private session with me. All you got to do is mention it. And you can contact me in multiple ways. But one easy thing that you could do is you could set up a free phone chat with me. And I will also share a link with you as well, where you can set up that free phone chat. And you can also learn more about other services. I do want to stress we can help you no matter where you live. So if you have the internet, then we can help you anywhere on Zoom, anywhere throughout the entire world. If you live in Northeastern Ohio, we can help you in person or through Zoom. How can I personally help you and your dog? Let's find out. Come and chat with me now. Schedule a free phone chat and get 50% off an initial session with me, or you can redeem it in the future if you'd like as well. Just mention this workshop. So to book a free phone chat with me, you can go to this link right here. Okay. And you can also go to this link right here to learn more about the services that I have to offer. Both of those links are pinned in the comments below at the top, so you can easily click on them. Okay. I hope to see you next week. Again, for the human-ended dog training, it's weekly on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for coming today. Bye, everybody.